Bridge lunch break event. Today is a very special lunch break event. It's our birthday party. Thank you for being here for the kickoff to a year of celebration of Bridge's 10th anniversary. As you likely know, since you've decided to come to our party, Bridge Michigan is our state's nonprofit, nonpartisan news source covering issues that matter to you and to your community. If you don't already, you can subscribe for free to Bridge newsletters by visiting bridgemi.com and clicking on the subscribe button. Also on our website, you can visit our 10-year anniversary page, which is brand new, and we have posted a really nice timeline of Bridge's history, and ultimately we'll be posting the recording of today's event. We'll drop the link for that page in the chat so you can visit it at any time. Also, we really want to know who was able to attend our party today. So if you haven't already, if you're able, please change your screen name to your first and last name so that we can see who was able to join us. You can do that by right-clicking on your picture, or on your cell phone, there should be some little dots on your screen, 3 little dots, and you can click rename, and that will allow you to do that. Events like these are made possible by the support of Bridge members. Those who are current Bridge Club members are people who have donated to Bridge over the last year, get a number of benefits, including access to a free ebook copy of each Bridge Book Club selection. You can become a member of Bridge today by visiting another link that we'll drop in the chat. Today, we are so lucky to be joined by members of the Center for Michigan and Bridge Michigan team. You'll meet them all momentarily. The schedule for today's discussion is this. Stephen Henderson, who is the executive editor for Bridge Detroit, will moderate discussions about Bridge Michigan's history. We'll thank and acknowledge the many who have helped us reach this milestone, and we'll then conclude with a discussion about the future of Bridge. We will be ending this discussion at 1 p.m. because we know you're all busy people and have lots of things you need to get to yet this afternoon. Like I mentioned, we are recording this discussion, and we'll be posting that recording on Bridge Michigan tomorrow and on our 10th anniversary page. With that, I'd now like to turn it over to Stephen Henderson to get the party started.
Welcome to everyone. This is really exciting to see all these familiar faces through the 10 years that Bridge Magazine has existed, all here to help celebrate the first 10 years. I want to make that clear of Bridge Michigan. I want to say something before we get started about Bridge Michigan itself and Phil Power, who is the person who dreamt up the Center for Michigan and got Bridge started. This was when it started a real flyer in the world of journalism and in the state of Michigan. I think nobody quite knew what Phil and John Bebow had in mind when they came up with this. There wasn't a lot to point to in terms of models in the way of examples that they might have used as a template. And I can remember the first time they came and told me about it. I even was scratching my head a bit, thinking, well, what exactly is this? 10 years later, I don't think any of those questions actually flowered into doubts. From the get-go, Bridge Michigan has been a pace setter and a leader in the space for nonprofit journalism, for in-depth, thoughtful journalism here in the state of Michigan, and for a really different take on the way that we think about and talk about the issues that really shape our lives here in the state. So I first want to just acknowledge that that milestone, not just today, after 10 years, but 10 years ago at the very, very beginning. I'm going to start off with a conversation here with Phil Power and John Bebow and Ron French, who is one of the editors at Bridge Magazine. Guys, welcome to the 10th anniversary.
Thanks very much, Steve. And to everybody who is looking on, welcome. This is turning out to be a real surprise to John and me, because at the very beginning, 10 years ago, we had no idea where this thought was going to go run. And today we have of the order of 600,000 readers for Bridge, and Bridge has become an important part of the media environment in Michigan. And we are celebrating 10th anniversary recognition, not for John and me, not even for our staff, but for the people who've made this possible, which is the people who signed up for the Center for Michigan, whose publication Bridge is, and for our readers, because the whole point of this activity is to provide journalism and insight and context for Michigan people in a way that has not previously been possible. And we are just delighted at the degree of support, both in terms of readership and in terms of citizen fundraising and participation that we have built over a period of 10 years. We think that 10 years is a long time, and neither John nor I had any idea we would be where we are now. And it's not through us, it's through trying to find a way to get in touch with our readers and with people in Michigan who want to make it a better state and to do what we can to represent their feelings and to provide things of interest and importance to them in ways that the media system previously is impossible to do.
Yeah, Phil, we've been working together a long time now, and we've thrown a lot of spaghetti at a lot of walls over the years. It looks like this Bridge thing stuck. What do you think about that?
Well, we walk into the office and we look at the mess on the walls, but a few things did stick. And one of them was our marketing brilliance. We thought at the very beginning that we ought to have a publication, and that made sense because I'm an old weekly newspaper publisher and John is a refugee from the newspapers. But I don't think anybody ever imagined that we would start a publication and then that we would call it Bridge. Our marketing brilliance at the very beginning was we called it the newsletter. And it took how many years for us to figure out that we might as well call it something snappy?
Well, we went through a discernment.
So what if we start here with just you guys going back to that moment 10 years ago when you announced all of this and what some of your objectives were? What were you hoping to accomplish? And why did you think Bridge Magazine was the vehicle to accomplish those things?
Well, Steve, when we launched Bridge, the Center for Michigan was already 6 years old. Phil and his wife, Kathy, and a steering committee of bipartisan leaders across the state had formed the center sometime earlier to meet with thousands of citizens across the state and develop public agenda reports to inform policymakers. And Bridge was the next step. We were already learning in that moment, really 11 years ago is when the planning began, that mainstream newspapers were, through no fault of the very hardworking people in their newsrooms, they were running into some really rocky times. As of this moment, as we sit here today in 2021, the total newsroom employment in the Michigan and in this country has reduced by half since the year 2000. We felt that urgency. We didn't have great data on it, but we knew what we were reading, and we knew, Phil and I being old newspaper ink-stained people, that things weren't what they once were. And we started Bridge to try to be a supplement, to try to accentuate what was going on in journalism, to try to pull together some of the people who'd already left newsrooms and provide in-depth coverage that may have been on the front of the Sunday papers back in the old days when we started. The in-depth stuff, the thoughtful stuff, the how and the why rather than the where, what, and when, the basics. And that's how we got started. We really ought to turn to Ron French because he was the first person either smart enough or foolish enough to join this after a celebrating career at the Detroit News. Ron, what are your questions and what brought you here?
Well, you've named some of them, and hello to everybody. I can say without much doubt, there were more people on the Zoom call than we had readers our first month of Bridge. Things were a little touch and go there for a while. No, but just like John and Phil, my background is in newspapers, and I worked at the Detroit News with John at several stints there, and it really felt like at that time that we formed Bridge, it was just a time of real peril for news, and it was a real peril, I think, for the public, because there was a lack of in-depth news and analysis to explain what was going on in the state. I told John at the time that I felt like Bridge might be the last place in the state where I could do the sort of things that I like to do, which was trying to explain things, why things are happening. And we knew it was a flyer. We had, as John and Phil have already said, I don't know if anyone anticipated still being here 10 years down the road, but I'm sure glad we are, and I'm sure glad to see all of you here.
So, Ron, I wonder if you can talk about the kind of day-to-day decision-making that goes into shaping a product like Bridge, which, as you all have pointed out, is really different from a daily newspaper, and has a different audience, I think, than a lot of the newspapers have and are still losing, really. What is it that goes through your mind when you think of the content that belongs in Bridge and is vital to our readers?
Sure, that's a good question, Stephen. The thing that strikes me is just, if you're looking for like one little line that is different when you're in a traditional publication. You're trying to cover everything that happens that day. You're trying to keep your head above the water financially. You're trying to figure out what's people are going to read. If there's some viral story, then we better get our own version of it so that we can get those readers too. Because mainstream media, through no fault of their own, I mean, they have to make profit, or at least break even. Our goal is to, when we sit down and talk about stories and what our goals are for the next year, and we're about to start that process again, looking at what are the big stories for 2022 that we want to own and try to help our readers understand. We try to think, what can we do to make Michigan a better state? And sometimes that isn't the same thing as the most popular story, the one that's going to get the most clicks. But it's about trying to move the state forward in a better way. And I think that was something that Phil and John and I really had in mind, that we wanted to actually, we'd all had our share of success. We'd all won our share of awards. We wanted to actually make a difference. And we felt this was a place we could do it. So that sort of mission has carried on as our staff has grown, that there's been a goal of trying to make the state a better place.
Yeah.
I think it's worthwhile recognizing how profound the changes in journalism have been over the last 10 years. I was the publisher of a whole bunch of suburban community weekly and twice weekly papers. And the difference between that world 20 years ago and the world today is so striking. Then back then, those little ads called classified ads, where you advertise a puppy or a set of golf clubs, were as much as 50% of the revenue that came in to my weekly newspapers and the Observer and Eccentric. And what happened as the web developed is that print advertising as a medium basically disappeared. And neither John nor Ron nor I had any idea what was going to happen when the financial basis of our industry, the newspaper industry, dissolved in front of our very eyes. And the question became, if this industry is dissolving, what is going to take care and provide response to the needs of readers for information in a news form that is understandable, that provides context, and that helps them have an idea how to make a better state that they are living in. And this was a very, very vague idea 10 years ago. And we had no idea of how direction it was going to develop. But it turned out that actually you meet a need when an industry basis falls apart. And we did meet a need. And I think that the fact that we now have 600,000 readers
Per month.
600,000 readers a month in 10 years is in our industry a fantastic growth profile.
Yeah, Phil, I think that says more about the Michigan public than it does about Bridge. I think it says that engaged Michigan citizens want to eat their vegetables. They want more than a weather report and the Spartans and Wolverines sports scores. They want substantive news. And all of you here and hundreds of thousands of other readers across this state have proven and have spoken that they want substantive news coverage. And we wake every day with the with the obligation to put that on the plate for you. And you know, we saw some things coming. We saw that newsrooms were hurting. We didn't realize that fully half of all newsroom employment would die. There's so much we didn't see coming. We had no idea that Bridge would take off the way it has. We looked at early audience studies of what we could anticipate, because if you work with Mr. Phil Power, you know that anytime you do something, he's going to say, how are we going to measure success? So the rest of us needed to have an answer for that. And we looked at all of the studies out there at the time, and what they suggested was over the first 10 years of Bridge, we would be doing well if over that entire time period, we accumulated 200,000 readers. We woefully underestimated how much all of you wanted the kind of coverage Bridge was going to provide. We continue to underestimate. I think what helped us get here, several key events that have helped Bridge grow. A lot of Ron French's very early coverage. He single-handedly documented 30,000 four-year-olds in Michigan who were eligible for preschool but weren't getting it. That story really mattered. That caught fire, and the next year, the governor and the legislature doubled. It was the largest preschool expansion in the country. It continues today. Tens of thousands of Michigan children have benefited from public preschool than would have otherwise. The reasons behind it are tragic, but the coronavirus has proven to be an important moment for Bridge. My colleagues, Robin Erb and Mike Wilkinson are here. Their work throughout the coronavirus coverage, for which they've received Journalist of the Year and Runner-Up of the Year for Journalist of the Year, providing that daily data of where the cases are, vaccines, so many other points, really became just a go-to source across Michigan. Ron's coverage of schools in the coronavirus, he broke the news of Governor Whitmer's intended shutdown for schools 4 days before it happened, and he had it down to the comma correct what was going to be announced. And that's what we're striving for every day here. The mission grows, and really our sense of obligation of service grows every day. That's why we're just grateful to be here with all of you, celebrating that we've made it this far and thanking you for your readership and support.
So John, Phil referenced this earlier, but I think it's worth digging a little deeper into the difference between for-profit news sources and the way that they survive and struggle today, and what's happened at Bridge, Michigan over 10 years. We have a really different financial model. Talk about how different it is and why it seems like it's working while lots of other things are falling apart.
Well, we've gone from being in the wilderness when we came up with this idea, which was an experiment, to there's an entire nonprofit news industry across the country today.
But this has only grown in recent years. It was 10 years ago, this was almost unknown.
But what has happened now, little sprouts were coming up across the country. We didn't invent nonprofit news. A whole bunch of people, refugees from traditional newspapers, had the same idea at the same time in 100 different places around the country. And we weren't talking to each other yet. Today we are. We have a trade organization, the Institute for Nonprofit News. We are sharing best practices. We are learning from each other. We're networking. We're sharing staff. We hire from each other. We're building programs together. We're doing content together. I am so bullish. I think our whole team is so bullish about the future of news. News is changing, but news is not dying. The delivery models and the business models are changing. And we have everybody here to thank for that. Bridge doesn't get this far without three things. An incredibly generous founding family, the Power family, which has poured an enormous amount of money into this work. And nothing happens without you, Phil, and your wife, Kathy. Secondly, Michigan's great philanthropic community. I see a number of you here today. We don't get there unless you answer the Power family's call to match their support to help us get off the ground. Increasingly, it is our obligation, our duty to steadily grow enough reader donations that we're not dependent on the founding sources anymore or philanthropy anymore. And all of you readers who are donating, every one of those dollars is fundamental for us. The first time we raised $1 from readers was 2013, and we raised $10,000 that year. Last year we raised $766,000. This year we're on pace for $800,000. That is the seed corn for the future. That's the seed corn for the next 10 to 25 years. The Bridge is unlimited in its potential. It will go as far as its readers want it to go. I've been a paper boy my whole life, as it turns out. I started out at the Lansing State Journal. I had 56 customers. $2 a week is what I charged when I knocked on those doors in the early 1980s in Mason, Michigan. $2 a week still works today for Bridge. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 readers willing to donate $2 a week. That's what it takes to continue growing. We have 24 people on this team, and we have 5 open positions right now. Actually, my numbers are already outdated. I think we're at 25 and we have 4 open positions. This will go as far as all of you want it to. And the difference in models, Steve, is no disrespect, but newspapers are a business. They have shareholders, they have hedge funds who own them. They must answer to Wall Street. They must answer to corporate headquarters, thousands of miles away from Michigan. Bridge answers to the people and communities of Michigan. Every dollar that comes in here is reinvested in our team and in this work across our state. The people of Michigan and the readers of Bridge own Bridge, and that's the way it always will be.
Yeah. So Ron, I wonder if you can talk a little about, in sort of the newsroom role and newsroom capacity, what that kind of relationship looks like. You said earlier that the way you think of stories, the way you come up with the things that Bridge ought to be doing is by deciding what would be good for the state of Michigan, what would be good for the people of Michigan. Those are also the readers that you're serving. Talk about what that relationship looks like in a nonprofit newsroom that can have that kind of goal in mind instead of profit.
Sure, absolutely, Stephen. It's a lot more responsive, I believe, than what we might see in a traditional news publication. We talk to readers a lot more than what I ever did at the Detroit News. I can tell you that. I can tell you that there was a lot of black humor about readers when I was sitting there at Detroit News. It's like we weren't writing for them; we're writing for each other and writing for awards and things like that. But here it's all about the reader, all about trying to move things forward. We have a lot more conversations. We have and Amber can talk about this, the number of meetings we have with the public all around the state. where we were talking to them about what their concerns are. That sort of contact, I think, informs our journalism in a way that is very healthy. I think it's obviously very appreciated because people are responding to it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Amber, who is going to do some quick acknowledgements and thank yous. I want to thank Ron French for being with us for this segment. We're going to add some other voices when I come back and keep, of course, Phil Power and John Bebow. But Amber, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. So as Steve said, I just want to very briefly acknowledge the many people and organizations that have helped Bridge Michigan reach this milestone. So I want to give a very, very brief overview of sort of the nonprofit news business model. I know that you just heard quite a bit about that, so I'll keep this very brief. But essentially, when we launched Bridge Michigan 10 years ago, it was really hard to imagine that we would have more than 3 million site visitors in 1 year and have grown our staff to 3 times its original size. Nonprofit newsrooms generally don't have to rely on things like advertisement or subscription dollars for the majority of their revenue. And instead, Bridge and our peer nonprofit or news organizations take all the dollars we earn from philanthropic organizations, corporate and nonprofit sponsors, and the generous support of readers and put those dollars right back into our reporting. And some of those who have supported that reporting, I'd like to acknowledge specifically as part of this conversation. So first and foremost, it really wouldn't be possible for Bridge to have reached this milestone without the generous support of Phil and Kathy Power. The Power family founded the Center for Michigan's nonprofit publisher, the Center for Michigan, in 2006, and have continued to invest generously in the organization to this day. Thank you so much. We also have quite a few philanthropic supporters. All of these individuals are listed on our website, and we'll drop the link in the chat for that. So if you'd like to study them, you can take a peek, but I'd like to name them all very quickly here, just so that to acknowledge their support of Bridge Michigan. They are the Alticor Amway Corporation, Arnold Ventures, Barch Memorial Trust, Cascade Engineering, the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, Consumers Energy Foundation, Delta Dental, DTE Energy Foundation, Esalen Menaka Bailey, the Facebook Journalism Project, the Flynn Foundation, Fred Keller, the Fry Foundation, the Hal and Jean Glasson Memorial Foundation, the International Center for Journalists, the Fund for Investigative Journalists, the Google News Initiative, the Grand Rapids Community Foundation, the Herbert H. and Grace A. Dow Foundation, the Herrick Foundation, the Hudson Weber Foundation, the Jacob Family Foundation, James and Donna Brooks, the Jander Noah Foundation, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Joyce Foundation, the Kresge Foundation, the McGregor Fund, the Michigan Association of Health Plans, Michigan Health Endowment Fund, Michigan Health and Hospital Association, the National Institute for Healthcare Management, Philip Miller, the Porter Family Foundation, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, the Power Foundation, the Skillman Foundation, the United Way for Southeastern Michigan, the Van Dusen Family Fund, William Parfit, and the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Thank you.
Amber, if I could mention 2 more.
Yes.
The Foundation and the Americana Foundation. This is an impossible effort to name everybody, but there are more as well, but thank you.
John, I think what this list brings out is how remarkably different the Center for Michigan and Bridge Magazine are from conventional sources for news. Our major purpose from the very beginning was to figure out a way to help make Michigan into a better place. And the question was, how do we go about doing it in a way that could be scaled, not from 10 readers to 20 readers, to thousands of readers, to 600,000. And one of the ways that we thought that might work is through a new kind of newspaper. And we prepared our thinking for a new kind of newspaper by holding literally hundreds of community conversations with ordinary folks all around Michigan, asking them what they wanted to know, how they wanted to understand their state, what they thought could be done if they got together with a news medium that reflected their interests and preferences rather than those of some Wall Street corporation or a bunch of other people. And at the end of the day, the result is as a result of being made into a community effort to help make a better state. And we believe that the combination of involving people, asking them what kind of news publication they want, holding community conversations, and occasionally publishing the results of our journalism, make it a different kind of experience in the journalistic terms. It's a nonprofit journalism. We've got hundreds of nonprofit journalisms taking place around the country, but we believe that if we stick to our purpose, which is to help Michigan be a better place, we will eventually learn and merit the time and the effort from our readers. And so far, we seem to be making a difference. And it's because of the very able people who have signed on with the Center for Michigan and signed on as staffers for Briggs Magazine, and the people who are willing to not only read, but also donate to our nonprofit organization.
No doubt, Phil. A lot of people, as Amber just noted, a lot of organizations have joined with you in believing in this work. And the last thing I'd like to say about our philanthropic supporters is not only have you funded the work, you've made it better. Your challenging questions, matching our work to your philanthropic missions, making us prove it, making us get better, making us become more representative across the state. You drive quality here, and we expect tough questions to always continue here. We expect to earn any dollar anybody supports us. I'd like to turn it back to Amber because she has some more people she'd like to thank.
I sure would. Additionally, there are many folks who have helped Bridge reach this milestone. A few more I'd like to mention. The Center for Michigan Steering Committee, thank you for your guidance and your leadership throughout the organization's history. Thank you to the original Bridge Advisory Group, including Margaret Trimmer, Richard McClellan, Ken Cole, Ken Winter, and Helen Taylor. Also want to thank some key partners who have been there for Bridge from the very beginning, including Martin Waymeyer, specifically Roger Martin, Dave Waymeyer, Andrea Ness, and Andy Poole, for the germ of this idea more than a decade ago and for originally constructing the Bridge website and growing audience for it. I saw Dave on the list of guests here, so welcome, Dave, and thank you for being here. Also want to acknowledge and thank public sector consultants, and specifically remember our friend Peter Pratt. I also want to thank the more than 9,000 Bridge members who personally support Bridge's journalism. Bridge's data-driven, in-depth reporting is made possible by readers like you, and we are so grateful for your support. I also noticed that a lot of my colleagues are here on the screen, and I would like to give them a chance to say hello to you very briefly. So I do want to thank the Bridge Michigan and Center for Michigan staff, both past and present, including the staff that are here today. I'm going to name the folks that I've seen on the screens at some point today, one at a time. So if you could, when I say your name, if you could just unmute, say your name and what you do here at the Center for Michigan or Bridge, and then I'll name the next person. So Catherine Dugal. And then if some of our folks may have left. Hey, Catherine.
Hey, excited to be here. My name is Catherine Dugal. I'm the Development and Engagement Specialist here at Bridge, Michigan.
Thanks, Catherine. David Zeman.
Hi, my name is David Zeman. I am the Senior Editor here at Bridge.
Joel Kurth.
Hi, I'm Joel Kurth. I'm the Managing Editor here at Bridge.
I want to acknowledge Ron, but I know you've already seen him. Ron, if you want to unmute, you can say hello, but I know that everyone got to chat with you already today.
Hey, everybody again. I'm Ron French, Associate Editor. I also cover education.
Excellent. Paula Gardner.
I am Paula Gardner, and I am Bridge's first business editor as of April of last year.
Thanks, Paula. Bill Emco.
Hi there, I'm Bill Emco. I'm the growth strategist here at Bridge. I work with editors and Amber on helping to improve readership and grow our membership. And thank you to all our members that consider to donate and support our work.
Katy Locker.
Hi, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Bridge, Michigan and Center for Michigan. I just joined this year, and it's really in response to all of the expansion. So our team can have everything they need to keep growing for the next 10 years.
Thanks, Katie. Robin Erb.
Oh, I cover health, or I'm the lead for the Health Watch for Bridge. And I'm super excited to see so many people here today at lunch. That's great.
I agree. Thanks, Robin. Let's see here. Mike Wilkinson.
Hi, I'm Mike Wilkinson. I am one of the staff writers. I focus a lot on stories that have data, and you probably know me more through my graphics and stuff that relate to COVID.
Sergio Martinez Beltran.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sergio Martinez Beltran. I'm one of two Capitol reporters at Bridge, Michigan, and I joined the team in March.
Kelly House.
Hi, everyone. Kelly House. I cover environment for Bridge, and I joined early last year just as the world was shutting down. Great to see everyone here.
Thanks, Kelly. Arielle Hines.
Hello, I'm Arielle Hines. I'm Bridge's first digital production specialist, and I joined here in February. It's good to see everyone.
Thanks, Arielle. I also want to acknowledge AJ Jones, who is our operations director and is running point on tech support. So he is behind the scenes of today's event. Are there any other members of the Center for Michigan team that I've missed? All right, I don't see anyone speaking up. So with that, those are my thanks and acknowledgements, and I'd like to turn the program back over to Stephen.
Thank you, Amber. That's actually a wonderful segue to our next conversation. I want to reintroduce, I guess, Kelly House, who's an environmental reporter with Bridge, Michigan. Hey, Kelly.
Hi.
And Sergio Martinez Beltran, who is one of the Capitol reporters for Bridge, Michigan. Sergio, hello.
Hi, Stephen.
Yeah, they're going to join John and Phil to talk with me a little now about the future at Bridge, Michigan and the Center for Michigan. You see how long it took to introduce all the people who are now working at this publication. If you'd done that 10 years ago, it would have taken you 2 minutes. And that's a testament to how much growth there has been, not just in readership, as we've been talking about in support, but the staff at Bridge, Michigan has changed a lot too and is growing. So I want to start this conversation with the two newest staffers, really, at Bridge, Michigan, talking about why they were attracted to this product. Why leave where you were to come be part of the family here at the Center for Michigan and Bridge Magazine? Kelly, I'll start with you.
Well, I have to clarify that Paula joined, I think, a month after me. So technically,
you're not one of the newest.
But
you see how careful we are about
that's right, accuracy.
Fact checking ourselves. I joined for kind of many of the same reasons that Phil and John were talking about starting Bridge. I had come from a for-profit newsroom. I actually left the newsroom for a couple of years to go to grad school, in part because it felt like the pressures on the news industry were creating, this ever shrinking island of opportunity to do the kind of journalism I wanted to do, and to have the time and space and freedom, to really do deep journalism. I missed being in a newsroom. And so when I was going back, I knew that I wanted to go to a place, I was careful about where I was going to go. Basically, I was really interested in going into nonprofit news where the mission is, more connected to readership. And I was excited to be going to a newsroom that was growing when every other newsroom was shrinking. So that was a really big piece for me. Michigan's my home state too. So I had been out West and wanted an opportunity to cover environmental issues in my home state, where it's one of the greatest places on earth, I think, for this beat. So that was a big draw for me too.
Stephen, this is David Zeman. Could I break in to just ask Kelly, number one, how she heard about this job at Bridge when she was out in Oregon? and also to note that her mother is on the Zoom now, which is fantastic.
Oh, really? That's excellent.
I knew I would not escape that. My dad, who is a Bridge reader, sent me the listing thinking that I might have friends who would want to apply. And then I decided to apply.
I'm sure your parents were really excited about that, actually, having you back here in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I think probably. I hope so.
So, Sergio, I know that you came to us from Nashville, Tennessee, where you were already working in nonprofit media for the National Public Radio affiliate there. But tell us, what was attractive about Bridge, Michigan, and the Center for Michigan?
Yeah, I think that I started my career in for-profit journalism. And so when I had the opportunity to join a nonprofit news outlet, I told myself I would never go back to for-profit. So either I die in Nashville or I'd go somewhere else, as long as it was nonprofit. And yeah, this opportunity at Bridge came up. And I think there were a couple of things that truly attracted me to the position. One was the fact that I was a politics reporter already in Nashville, but I wanted something a little bit more dynamic in terms of politics. And as you guys know, we have a shared government here. So there's a lot of news in that field. So that was very exciting for me to be able to come to a state where a bill was not going to be passed for sure. It could face a veto, or there had to be negotiations, and we had to be there breaking it down for our readers. So that was super exciting. And then the second thing was, seeing the people that I was going to work with, having run as a colleague, having a colleague like Kelly and everyone else on the call, being able to partner and have as a reporting partner my colleague Jonathan Osteen, who has been covering Michigan politics for a really long time. And of course, I have to say this, the editors as well. That was like a big part too, because I knew that their editing was gonna make me a better reporter, but also we were gonna be able to collaborate and, like we've talked over and over, make Michigan better and help people make better informed decisions, if anything. So it was the combination of those two reasons that at the end of the day made me pack my stuff from Nashville and move back to Michigan.
Yeah. So John and Phil, there's an incredible through line, I think, between the things you guys were talking about in our first conversation about founding Bridge, Michigan, and why and how and what you hope to accomplish, and these two relatively new staffers who seem to just have picked up where you kind of left off and are absolutely carrying forward that vision and that mission. That's gotta feel pretty good.
Well, Stephen, I'm having watched them in their work here and studied their work before they got here. I'm confident that Sergio and Kelly could work in any newsroom in this country. And when people do leave Bridge, they tend to go work at any newsroom they want to in the country. Our great friend Chastity Pratt, who was here for several years, is at the Wall Street Journal now. We have interns who've moved on to NBC Nightly News, the Washington Post, New York Times. The future of what our newsroom looks like will be largely determined by readers and what they say. Amber and Catherine Dougal work very hard on surveying readers. The openings we have now for a third Capitol reporter to cover the fundamentally important statewide election next year, and for an education reporter that will allow Ron to concentrate more completely on big picture project reporting, and efforts to add some breaking news reporting as well. Those come directly from surveying all of you on what you want. And we will continue to be guided by what we hear from readers as Bridge continues to evolve. And it will continue to evolve. The first birthday party we had, I believe it was in Kalamazoo at Bell's Brewery. And Ron stomped his foot outside and said, "Damn it, Bebow, I want us to get to 4 staff members." Ron will keep stomping his foot and demanding more, and so will readers. There are some key tenets of what I think you can expect from us. One, we're not planning for just next year, we're planning for the next generation. We are building a model here that we intend to outlast most of the people who currently work here, because this is not an employment vessel for us as much as it is a public service for Michigan that we're trying to create and grow and sustain. Secondly, you can expect us and hold us accountable for becoming more equitable and more representative of our state. Journalism has a long tradition of not fully representing the public it serves. We are somewhat guilty of that as well. You will see us steadily become more representative and equitable in our staffing and in our management. Third, we're going to want to do a lot more of this. The one frustration for us about today is we miss all of you and we want to talk to you more. Beginning in 2022, you'll see more rollouts, hopefully of some more in-person events, but also more regular opportunities electronically, just for you to come on and pepper us with questions. You be the reporters and treat us like we're the people at the head of the room in the press conference. We learned so much that way. Today's more of a celebration, and we just wish this was in person and we were sharing some champagne and cake, but a lot more interaction with all of you. And in the short term, as David and Joel can tell you, very ambitious plans for watchdogging truth and fact and sanity in next year's elections. Our team continues to do that every day. I hope you read Bridge today. Sergio and Mike Wilkinson have an awfully good story about what's going on with our redistricting commission and what the maps look like. We're trying to prove it every day. And today's a great example of that.
Yeah. I also want to give us a chance to talk about something that John and I have been working on for a couple of years now, and is now more than a year in its own life, and that's Bridge Detroit. For those who are unfamiliar, Bridge Detroit began in 2020 as a responsive, engaged news organization in the city of Detroit, aimed at being in close touch with Detroiters about what's going on in their communities and in their lives, and trying to reflect back to them the news and information that they need to make sense of all of that. Bridge Michigan and the Center for Michigan are sponsors of all of that effort, acting as fiduciaries and important partners. And it was Phil and John who made the decision to get behind that and to make sure that the really wonderful approach that guides Bridge Michigan also starts to affect journalism in Detroit. Isn't that right, John? Did I get it right, John?
You sure did, Steve. We are thrilled to partner with Bridge Detroit. And the idea exchange between the two publications is awesome. I think we'd be remiss if we did not point out the true visionary of Bridge Detroit, who is Katy Locker. Katy, thank you for the challenge of this. Katy, for those of you who don't know her, and she seems to know everyone, Katy was the program director for the Knight Foundation in Detroit before we were incredibly fortunate to have her join us. Katy has been a long supporter of journalism in Detroit. And Katy, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say about Bridge Detroit and what you intended and how it's going.
Well, that wasn't my plan, but sure. I think as everyone has talked about, the rapidly changing world of news media was being observed by Knight nationwide, still is being observed by Knight nationwide, and it was looking for ways to assist. And those of us that were in Detroit really recognized a gap of what is now the tagline for Bridge Detroit, reporting for Detroiters by Detroiters. And Stephen leads an extraordinary team of Detroiters that are working every day to report on Detroit so that Detroiters know more. In many cases, and I think that our Michigan team is doing this for Michiganders, people are reporting from outside of a community and they pop in and they put their own lens on it. And it means a lot when it's actual residents who care about their community reporting. And what's extraordinary is that the model that Phil and John built 10 years ago is now a model that the nation looks at for how to make nonprofit news work. And what I really enjoy in my role is that Bridge Detroit now and the team members of Bridge Detroit get to go and do their reporting and their editing and their community engagement. And the business model just runs right behind it because the Center for Michigan and Bridge Michigan were willing to share that model.
Yeah.
Katy, you're not going to like this because this is also unscripted, but we have a couple minutes here. I just want everybody on this call to know how grateful I am personally to Katy, who has every opportunity to do anything she wants in this world. She's chosen to join us. She probably won't be here for the next 20 years, but I'm so grateful that she's chosen to work here with Stephen and the editors and myself and Amber. This place has become way bigger than we ever thought and way too much for my limited brain to manage. And Katy is the best management thought partner I've ever had, and she is powering this place in super important ways. The second person I want to personally thank, Amber mentioned very briefly, is the second best thought partner I've ever had, Peter Pratt, who was the president at Public Sector Consultants in Lansing. Peter passed away from cancer very quickly 4 years ago this fall. For at least 18 months after Peter's passing, I stared at my phone every morning at 8 o'clock. We were on the phone every morning at 8 o'clock. He was an incredible partner, the most talented and generous person. And without both of you and so many of the rest of you, Peter and Katy and everybody else here, we wouldn't be here today and we wouldn't be continuing to grow. So thank you.
Yeah. So I want to turn it back to Phil for a bit here and talk about your vision for the future of Bridge, Michigan, Bridge Detroit, and the Center for Michigan. This all came out of your head originally, and again, I remember those early conversations that you and I had about what you were doing and what you were up to, and I've seen it unfold over a long period of time. But I'm really curious, Phil, what do you think about what the future is for these organizations? What do you hope will be the future for these organizations?
Well, I think there are two pieces that need to be thought about. The first is that the guiding impulse to what John and I and our readers and our staff are thinking about is, what can we do to make Michigan a better place for people who live there? Most newspapers, at least those that I know anything about, their purpose is to make money. Our purpose is to make a better state. And I think that if we remain fixed in that idea, we're going to do the right job. This goes way, way back in our family history. My ancestors first came to Michigan in 1824 and founded Farmington, for goodness sakes. And my great-great-grandfather was one of the first people to plant cherries up around Traverse City. And so our family's roots go very deep in Michigan, and they're consistent with the objective that we have for Bridge Magazine and for our work at the Center for Michigan, which is to make our state a great place for everybody who lives there, and to recognize that our history is your history, and the history of families throughout the state who've come here and moved here and grown here and made Michigan what it is. And we believe that our work can help every citizen in the state understand who we are and how we expect to make a better state for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that there's a better way to end this conversation than with words from Phil Power himself. I want to thank everybody for joining us for this 10-year celebration. Bridge, Michigan. Thank all of the participants, Phil and John, Sergio and Kelly, and of course, Ron French. And here's to 10 more. Actually, here's to 100 more. Amber, back to you.
All right. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining us for today's conversation. It's been a really great birthday party, and I was glad I was able to be there. Want to thank all of our participants as well for joining us for today's conversation. We will be posting the recording of this conversation in Bridge tomorrow or in the following days. If you have anything else any questions about today's event or anything that you wanted to follow up on with our team, feel free to email me directly. My email is membership@bridgemi.com. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for coming to our party. We'll talk with you again, hopefully next week or next month rather. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.